I've worked security at St. Mary's for 3 years, and the first thing you learn is that a hospital at night is a completely different world than it is during the day. The fluorescent lights hum louder, the air feels thinner, and the silence in the basement corridors isn't peaceful. It's heavy. Last Tuesday, I was pulling a double shift. Around 3:15 a.m., I was sitting in the main control booth, just cycling through the camera feeds to stay awake. I stopped on camera 07. That camera covers the service hallway connecting the emergency elevators to the loading dock. It's a long, concrete tunnel used almost exclusively for trash and transport. There was a gurney sitting in the middle of the frame. On top of it was a black body bag. This wasn't entirely unusual. Sometimes the porters get backed up and leave a transport there for a few minutes while they grab a signature. But I watched that screen for 10 minutes and nobody came back for it. I was about to radio the front desk to complain about the obstruction when I saw the glitch. At least I thought it was a glitch. The silver tab of the zipper, which was pulled all the way to the head of the bag, seemed to jerk. I leaned closer to the monitor, squinting at the grainy black and white footage. The tab was definitely lower than it had been a moment ago. My first thought was gravity. Maybe the bag was overstuffed and the tension was pulling the zipper down. I took a sip of my lukewarm coffee, trying to be rational. Then the bag moved. It wasn't a subtle shift. A distinct, sharp shape pressed up against the vinyl from the inside. It looked like a knee kicking out. I froze, the coffee cup halfway to my mouth. A second later, a hand, clearly a hand, pressed against the material right where the face would be. It clawed downward, frantic. The zipper slid down 6 inches. My stomach dropped into my shoes. I grabbed the radio mic, my thumb slipping on the button because my palms were suddenly sweating. Central to ER, I stammered. You got a live one in the service tunnel, camera 07. I looked back at the screen. A pale, gray arm had flopped out of the opening, hanging limp over the metal rail of the gurney. Central, say again, the radio crackled. We haven't sent a transport down in 2 hours. The hallway is empty. I looked at the monitor. The arm was gone. The bag was zipped tight. I'm looking right at it, I yelled. Send someone down there. I didn't wait. I grabbed my flashlight and sprinted down the stairs, bursting into the service hallway less than 45 seconds later. The hallway was completely empty. No gurney, no body bag, just the low buzz of the vending machine near the elevators. I checked the floor for wheel marks or scuffs. Nothing. I went back to the booth and rewound the footage. From 3:10 a.m. to 3:20 a.m., camera 07 shows nothing but an empty hallway. But I know what I saw. I know the panic I saw in that hand trying to claw its way out. Someone was trapped in there, even if the camera says they never existed.
The job was technically easy. Sit in a 4x4 glass box on the darkest stretch of the New York State Thruway, take quarters, lift the gate. It was the summer of '89, and at 3 a.m., the highway was usually dead. I had a portable radio and a stack of comic books to keep me awake. At 3:12 a.m., a beige 1978 sedan rolled up to my lane. It was rusted out along the bottom of the doors, the muffler rattling like a can of rocks. The driver was a middle-aged guy with thick glasses and a receding hairline. He didn't say a word, just dropped 2 quarters into my hand. His skin felt strangely clammy, like he'd been standing in a freezer. I hit the button, the gate went up, and he drove off into the dark. 8 minutes later, I saw headlights. Same rattle, same beige sedan. I sat up straighter. There wasn't an exit for 40 miles in either direction. To get back to my lane, he would have had to drive 40 miles north, turn around, drive 40 miles south, turn around again, and come back. Impossible to do in 8 minutes. I figured maybe he pulled an illegal U-turn across the grassy median, but I hadn't seen headlights cut across the darkness. He stopped at the window. Same guy, same glasses, but he looked sweatier, paler. He handed me 2 quarters. I tried to ask, "Hey, didn't you just come through?" He didn't even look at me. He just stared straight ahead at the empty road, his jaw set tight. I took the money. The gate went up. The third time was at 3:35 a.m. This time the front bumper was hanging off on the left side. The driver was gripping the wheel so hard his knuckles were white. When he reached out to pay, I saw fresh scratches on his arm. deep ones, oozing dark red. "Sir," I said, my voice cracking, "do you need help?" He turned his head slowly. His glasses were cracked now, a spider web fracture over the left eye. "Am I almost there?" he whispered. It sounded wet, like he had fluid in his lungs. Before I could answer, he floored it. The gate wasn't even all the way up. He clipped it, shattering the wooden arm, and sped off. I grabbed the landline to call the state troopers, my hands shaking so bad I dropped the receiver. While I was dialing, I heard that distinct rattling sound again, getting louder. The fourth time, the car didn't stop. It came through the lane at 60 miles an hour. The front end was completely accordion crunched, steam hissing from a busted radiator. The windshield shattered around a dark impact point right where the driver's head would be. I dove to the floor tiles as it flew through the open lane, the sound of tearing metal echoing off the booth. When the troopers arrived 20 minutes later, they found the car. It had smashed into a concrete bridge abutment 3 miles before the toll booth. The engine was cold. The paramedics said the driver had been dead for at least an hour. I've worked for the City Transit Authority since the late 80s. Most people think the subway tunnels are just tracks and trash, but there's a whole ecosystem down there. Drainage rooms, abandoned stations, utility shafts that go down for miles. You see weird things, but usually it's just rats or homeless folks looking for warmth. In November of 1996, I was doing a routine structural check on a decommissioned service line near the lower level of the tracks. It was about 3 a.m. I was the only one in that section, just me and the hum of the distant transformers. I was inspecting a concrete retaining wall when I noticed a ventilation grate that looked wrong. It wasn't on my schematics. The bolts were rusted, but the area around them was clean, like someone had wiped away the grime recently. I had a heavy pry bar on my belt, so I popped the grate off. I expected a narrow duct, but it opened into a crawl space that led to a full-size standing tunnel. I shined my mag light down there. The air was dead. No breeze, no smell of ozone, just stale, dry air. About 20 feet in, the tunnel ended at a massive iron door. It looked like something off a submarine, heavy, reinforced with rivets, and painted a thick, industrial gray. There was no handle on the door, just a smooth surface. I walked up to it, thinking maybe it was an old fallout shelter entrance. I raised my hand to knock, just to test the solidity of the metal. Before my knuckles even touched the iron, a sound came from the other side. Thump. I froze. It was faint, but distinct. I held my breath, listening. Thump. Thump. It sounded like heavy fabric hitting metal. Someone was in there. "Hey?" I called out, my voice cracking a little. "This is maintenance. You aren't supposed to be down here." The rhythm stopped instantly. For 10 seconds, there was absolute silence. Then, a massive crash shook the door in its frame, loud enough that I felt the vibration in the floor of the tunnel. It wasn't a knock anymore. Someone or something was throwing its entire body weight against the metal. Thank you all for watching and making it this far into the video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see ya in the next one.